I want to be really clear about the limitations of language, because that's the maybe the biggest trap of all. Language is such a power that we as human beings have. Beautiful power, awesome power. I'm pro-language. However, when it comes to speaking of the fundamental, essential truth of who you are, no language can come close. Because part of the power of language is that it defines, it encloses. And so over time, certain words have been used like self and realization or even heart. And we get that, we understand that, but we understand it in the way that we understand language as something that encloses. And in that it separates from something else. And that's part of maybe it's a major contribution to the war within us, which is then reflected in the war outside. Well, us and them is already language. So when I say do nothing or just be still, meet it, I'm not saying that doing something is wrong, or even that do nothing is right. It's not something versus something else. Peace is not something versus something else. It is inclusive. And it is so inclusive that even the word inclusive falls short. It's even inclusive of what's exclusive. So recently someone was asking me, what is non-dual teaching? What is Advaita Vedanta? And I don't consider myself an Advaita Vedantist. I'm not an ist of any kind, really. But all I could say was that non-duality is totality. It includes all duality. It's not an issue of non-duality versus the dualistic view. And it becomes that in our minds or in our discussions or in the writings. It becomes one is better than the other, or one is higher than the other, or one is holier. And if we are willing to just really leave all that behind, just for the purpose of investigation, just if we can just forget these terms that have their use and are not wrong, but just for investigation, for a weekend, to forget them, to have no terminology, even though we will use terminology, because we will speak, but to not have that as a true reference point, as the way that we say this is so. The non-dual truth is so, and the dualistic truth is not so. Just to forget that. That's a war right there. In that, actually, the mind opens and doesn't know where to land. Well, then what is so? I have to find what is so. Just then forget what is so. That in itself is just a sentence that we've heard something. We have to find what is so. In a moment of simply not knowing anything, which is not opposed to knowing something, but just an experiment. It's beautiful to know something. It's beautiful to know lots of things. It's part of our inheritance as human beings. But what gets overlooked in knowing something is what is free of knowing something. What is untouched by knowing anything. What is independent of what we call knowledge. Not separate from it, but independent, free. No matter what we know, is still at peace. So we may know we are, what was the phrase, that we're not okay. We may know the limitations of our particular forms, but are we willing to look under that rather than try to spend our time fixing the limitations so that we will get to what is under that? One of my teacher's most potent phrases was, stop postponing your awakening. And the mind's capacity to postpone seems to be endless. I just have to deal with my anger, or I just have to deal with my shyness, or I just have to stop hating myself. Forget about it. You can hate yourself fully and completely. And when you hate yourself fully and completely, with no story of hating yourself, just the direct experience of full, complete hate of yourself, amazingly, surprisingly, hate reveals love, reveals peace, because then you aren't at war with hating yourself, or you aren't in the drama of hating yourself, or you aren't pretending you don't hate yourself. Your play is finished, the curtain closes, and there's peace. There's a lot in the human psyche, in our collective unconscious, our collective memory that's very hateable. And we know, surely we know, as at least semi-educated adults, the horrors that human beings are capable of. Neighbors against neighbors throughout time. Present time, past time, and most probably future time. So I'm not suggesting that you overlook that. I'm suggesting that you be very aware of that. This is not a process of denial. That you're actually open to experience that within yourself as not separate from that. And in that direct experience, there is a revelation that I won't name because it is too close to be named. And it is what gets called the truth, or freedom, or the peace that is beyond understanding. I think it's the peace that is closer than understanding. It's not beyond as out of reach, but so close that in our mind's power we just move away from it. So these periods of just sitting quietly are simply opportunities just to recognize what we are bringing with us. Not that it's wrong, but to recognize we have the opportunity just to stop the discussion. Whether the discussion is about them or about us, about the past or about the future. And the discussion is about the past or the future. Right? Can you have a discussion without the past or the future? That's not wrong. That's also part of the huge capacity of human beings to foresee the future, to make plans, probability analysis, to learn from the past, to see where the mistakes were. But if you will notice, we keep making the same mistakes because there's something that hasn't been realized. And it's not even a something or a nothing. It is indefinable. And it's not an it. It's you. You are indefinable. And if you are willing to surrender for a moment, for a weekend, any definition of yourself that arises, any, however high or low, just to surrender it as just a definition, a passing definition, subject to change, as all definitions are. Just to surrender it. you will directly discover what lies underneath. You are indefinable. One is indefinable. Who we are is indefinable. And that's not versus definitions. It's under it. Definitions are beautiful. But under that, in the midst of that, before that, after that, above that, closer than that, who you are is always here.